Welcome back everyone, it's Eric from Rare Candy here. Today we are back with another first impression video, and today we're going to be looking at the new set Ultra Genesis that just got revealed in Japan. It's the latest Japanese set. The set's actually kind of relevant just because this will be one of the main sets that helps comprise our Cosmic Eclipse set in November, as Pokebeach has pointed out here. So we've seen a good bit of the cards from this set already. But it's like 90 something cards, I think. Yeah, 95. So it's a pretty decent size set for Japan. So there's still a lot of stuff that probably hasn't been revealed that we'll see here. So I have probably seen a lot of the bigger, more notable cards already, just because Japan does tend to kind of reveal a lot of their cards gradually up until the release of the set. But I'm sure there's still some cool stuff in here somewhere that we haven't seen yet at this point. And of course, we're still going to do our full Cosmic Eclipse set once we get a little bit, or Cosmic Eclipse set review, once we get a little bit closer to November. But in the meantime, this should be nice just to kind of give you guys some of my initial thoughts and, hold you over until our full set review inevitably comes out here. So, yeah, let's take a look at it and see what all we have in this set. So we have Sunflora here. This was a card I do think got revealed a little bit ahead of time. Let's see. Yeah, has this attack for DCE during your next turn. Ignore all energy and the attack cost of each of your grass and fire Pokemon in play, including Pokemon put into play during that turn. So that's kind of interesting, but this is, well, if you're playing like fire Pokemon, since those tend to be, I think, a little bit more powerful than some of the grass Pokemon, you're playing triple acceleration and fire energies, which is kind of clunky. I mean, it's not too bad, I guess, but the fact that you're a stage 1 and this is an attack is pretty bad. Like, I really wish this was like a coming into play ability. I think that would be really nice. Like, maybe if this attack was on a basic Pokemon for a single attachment, this could have been okay. But the fact that it's on a stage 1 and it's an attack 9 ability means this probably won't see play. Very strong effect, but unfortunately it just has a couple things going against it. Let's see, we have Cradily, so getting plenty more fossil Pokemon. Nothing too notable about the Lileep, but this guy says if your opponent's Pokemon is affected by a special condition, it can't retreat. Okay, just trying to think of like stuff right now that's good in the format that can inflict special conditions. Like, obviously we have like Raichu, but I mean, we're not playing this in Peak Round, let's be honest. And the fact this is a fossil is like kind of annoying too. So we need something that pairs well with this thing. I'm just trying to think what is out there that is really effective. Now, I mean, we do have a Mungus, I guess, which is something, I suppose. I don't know. This seems pretty bad. I wish this was on like a basic or a stage 1. In fact, it's on a fossil stage 2 means it probably won't see play. And its attack 110. Your opponent's active is now poison. So probably pretty bad. We have Cricketune. Been a while since we've had a Cricketune card, I think. Just one attack here. Let's see. So, 1 grass, 30 plus. If you have exactly 1 card in hand, does 100 more damage. If you have exactly 3 cards in hand, your opponent's active is now confused. If you have exactly 6 cards, this does 30 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And of course, don't apply weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon. So that's, it's kind of cute, I guess. Nothing special, though. We've got a new Decidueye. This is definitely a, this is one of the ones that did get revealed a little bit beforehand. Unfortunately, Decidueye was like kind of weak from what I remember, which bums me out. I love Decidueye. I think it's one of our best starter Pokemon we've had from any gen. And of course, we have the legacy of Decidueye GX to live up to, so a lot of pressure on this guy to be good. But Grass to 40 to one of your opponent's Pokemon, then DCE 80 and 80 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it already. So I think this guy's just a little bit underpowered. I don't mind the concept of this card having a snipe attack and then another attack that puts additional damage on Pokemon that have previously been damaged. So I think if the actual damage output was a little bit higher, like if this was 1 for 60, I think I would like that, because then you could snipe things like Inkays as an example. 1 for 40 is just pretty bad though. And 80 and 80 snipe. Again, like the concept of the attack going not too bad. I wish this was maybe something closer to like 120 and 120, or like 120 and 100, because then, especially if you buffed this first attack, you could set up plays where you could snipe the Denny GXs. So I think this card is just probably a little bit underpowered. We probably can look at the pre-evolutions just in case we want to play with Decidueye GX and Expanded. Okay, this route is actually pretty good. Just for grass, flip a coin of heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to it. That might be the leading route going forward. Let's see. So let's see, 10 snipe for grass energy isn't too bad either. Yeah, really not too bad. But again, just wish this Decidueye was a little bit stronger. I love Decidueye. It would have been great to have another playable Decidueye finally. So up next we have Buzzwole, our first baby Buzzwole that is grass type. So of course Ultra Beast, 130 HP. Let's see its ability. Does 20 more to your opponent's active for each prize card you have taken before applying weakness and resistance. Okay, so in the early game, this card's probably going to be bad. But let's say your opponent's taking 3 prizes just because you're on beast rating turns, you could probably power this thing up like that. So if they've taken 3 prizes, you're hitting for 60, 80, 120, yeah. I don't know, it doesn't seem too great. I mean, if you get your opponent down to just a single prize, you're hitting 160, which really isn't too shabby. And there's like a new tool card in the set, I think, that increases the damage output for Ultra Beast in a similar fashion. So there are like ways you can scale this up, but it's just super situational and very clunky to get up and going. Yeah, that doesn't seem too great. The fact that it's like grass colorless is also a bit of an annoyance because you have to play, like, if you want to power this thing up in one turn, you're going to need some other form of energy acceleration to get this guy up and going, which is kind of annoying. Unless your opponent, of course, is on beast ring turns. But again, if they've only taken, I forget, it's prize cards you have taken. Okay, that is a little bit different at least. Nevertheless, you would still need a way to power this thing up in a single turn if you wanted that like surprise factor, ideally. So really not sure what you'd be playing this in. Maybe if like Rowlet, Alolan Exeggutor, and Serena like sees play, you could theoretically power this up in one go. I don't know, powering this thing up seems like kind of clunky, so that might be what's going against it. Next up we have Volcarona GX. This was one of the cards that did get revealed ahead of time. Very good card. I think it's actually probably one of the best cards in the set. But Stage 1 GX, it's been, you know, I'm happy we're getting some evolution GXs that are pretty decent, just because Pokemon has been kind of putting all of their effort into the tag teams. And if you guys know me, I can't stand tag teams just as a concept. Anything that pushes evolutions in some way is definitely a good thing in my book. So ability, once during your turn before you attack me, discard a fire from hand, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So kind of like the Decidueye GX, but stage 1, and you discard a fire, which definitely isn't bad. Main attack, 2 fire colors, 160, return 2 fire from this Pokemon to your hand, which is kind of nice because you can attack, keep the fire energy, and then just welder it back down into play next turn if you want to. So that seems nice. Could be clunky to like stream this guy as an attacker throughout the game though, just because you are forcing yourself to put the energy back into your hand every time, which is kind of annoying, but still not too bad. Then it's GX attack, Great Heat Wave, discard energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon. So GX attack, kind of underwhelming, but the ability here is super good. You know, we've seen Decidueye GX. It saw a ton of play just for the ability to snipe 2 damage counters. And discard of fire energy really isn't too bad because fire decks are already playing kind of like a thick count of fire energies right now. Like the Greens Reshizard variant is playing, you know, probably closer to like 11 or 12, but the ability Reshizard and like Blacephalon decks are playing, you know, closer to like 16 to 18. So you will definitely have consistent use of this thing. And I think you could like potentially play this on its own and just have 4 Volcarona GX and attacking with this 160 attack really isn't too bad. 160 at a glance doesn't seem like a great number, but with these sniping, you know, attacks that we have here, or sniping abilities, I think that actually will add up pretty decently. Giving up 2 prizes also is going to be better than giving up 3 with a Reshizard. But nevertheless, you probably play Reshizard in a deck with this no matter what, just because it's a more stable attacker. You don't have to get your energy back into your hand every time. But yeah, I think you could play this just as its own deck and just kind of relying on your abilities to kind of set up KOs and fix your math. But also too, I think since we don't have Choice Band in the format either anymore, you could potentially play this in the ability Reshizard deck, because like once this comes out, Great Catcher will come out, so there's probably less of a need for the Ninetales as a bench sitter. So this could potentially come like your new stage 1 bench sitter, and you can use this ability just to like fix your math. So instead of playing something like Shrine of Punishment to knock out a Pikarom, you can just snipe 20 with this. And then what's the attack on Reshizard? I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it. Flare Strike, I think. That does 230. Well, you'll be able to knock out Pikaroms now in one shot. Of course, also, with 2 of these snipes, you can knock out opposing Reshizard. So this could even just be like a 2-2 line in Reshizard to fix its math. And like I said, you just change your Ninetales over to Great Catchers. Kind of call it a day. So that seems pretty good. Really excited for this card. Really looking forward to testing this thing out. So we have a new Pyroar. So let's see. Spiraling in first 70, discard all tool cards and special energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. It's okay, I guess. Discarding special energy really in this format is pretty terrible. Not that getting rid of their resources is bad, but like the only special energy that's really good right now is probably going to be like triple acceleration, and it discards itself. I mean, we do have rainbow energy kind of floating around still. We still have unit energies, but by and large, this attack doesn't seem too great. Heat Blast also kind of underwhelming. So we have a new Alolan Vulpix. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, takes no damage from attacks. I do like that. It means Pikarom can't snipe you, and you don't need something like a Bench Barrier Mew to be able to, have that effect. Then just 10 for 0 energy is fine. So if you're playing this, I'm not sure which Vulpix is going to be better, this or the other one from Lost Thunder. The other one's like, if you have any fairy Pokemon play, it has a 0 retreat cost. That could potentially be better, just because if you're playing this, you're playing Alolan Ninetales, and the only Ninetales in format right now is going to be fairy type Alolan Ninetales. So the other one might be better, but I don't think this one is bad. This is still a fine pre-evolution. Better than your normal 1 energy for 10, 2 energy for 20 type of pre-evolution that we normally get. So we have Snorunt, and this one does have 60 HP. I believe the other one right now is 50, so that could maybe be relevant. Not too special. Glalie. So 30, and on a coin flip, your opponent is paralyzed and discard an energy attached to him. That's not too bad. Damage output's pretty terrible, but the effect is kind of cool. Second attack 120, and it can't use that attack next turn. Nope. Probably not playing that. So we have, let's see, Walrein. This was a card that did get revealed ahead of time, I do remember. So 160 HP, very tanky. 4 retreat costs, kind of nice. We can use buff padding if we want. We can use Pokemaniac if we want to try to search this thing out that way. We have Cold Wave, 60, and then your opponent can't play any trainer cards from their hand during their next turn. Then you can't use this attack if any of your Pokemon used Cold Wave during your last turn. Okay. So, I mean, being able to lock your opponent's trainers is an insane effect. Like this isn't items. This is supporters, stadiums, etc. So this is a very, very strong effect for sure. Says you can't use this attack if any of your opponent used Cold Wave during your last turn. So you can't like cycle between like 2 different Walrein here. I am curious though, like, oh, I guess you could play Channeler to remove the effect and keep streaming this. Now, I'm curious if Dawn Wings will, or like normal switching effects will allow you to play around this, because typically with a card like this, like think of Reshizard for example, if you were to move it out of the active spot and then move it back, you can then use Flare Strike again. So I'm curious if that will apply to this as well. Again, this is just the Japanese translation. We'll need to probably wait for an official English translation to know the exact wording. But this is a very strong effect. It is, if we could find a way to recycle this effect every turn, that would definitely be really good. But based on the wording, it says if any of your Pokemon use Cold Wave during your last turn, that leads me to believe maybe even if you remove this thing from the active, you won't be able to use this again. So probably like a Dawn Wings style effect won't fix this, but Channeler will. So if you're playing that, you would need like an additional draw engine to make sure you can still draw cards while playing Channeler most turns. I think the damage output's probably a little bit low to be able to pull off something like that. And I mean, I guess the other attack isn't a bad cleanup attack because you can just attach a triple acceleration and that can like clean up your knockouts maybe. I don't know. First attack definitely very, very good, but it's a stage 2. Damage output's kind of low. It's going to be hard to recycle this effect every turn if you want to. So I'm not sold, but definitely a very, very powerful effect. We have Swanna up next. Been a while since we've had a Swanna. I can't remember the last one we had. And most of these have been pretty bad historically. So let's see what this one is. So attach energy from hand to one of your Pokemon, and then 70 discard energy from this Pokemon. So you got pretty bad. So Black Curum. Let's see. So Blizzard Wings 30, discard a special energy from your opponent's active. Yet again, like I mentioned, special energies really aren't very good right now. One of the better ones is going to be triple acceleration, and that discards itself. So not too good there. Then 100 plus 100 more if you have a stadium in play. So you could theoretically play this in like the Quagnag style deck. Hitting for 200 isn't terrible here. It's, you know, without things like, well, I guess if you have Shrine of Punishment as like one of your stadiums, that could maybe fix some of your math. Because 200 sounds like a lot, but you're really not knocking out much in one hit. Like, you're not knocking out any of the tag teams other than like Water Weak tag teams. So, I don't know. Doesn't seem too good to me. We have Chinchou and Lantern. See, as often as you like during your turn, you may look at a top card of your opponent's deck, then return it to the top of their deck. And then Lightning Colors 50, you may have your opponent draw a card from the top of their deck. So I can maybe see this as an option in like a control deck. That way you don't have to play like Chip Chip Ice Axe or Hiker. But I guess you would still want to play something like that to manipulate their top deck, because this just allows you to see it. So I don't know. You know, maybe this could pair well with the Alolan Marowak that discards a Pokemon from the top of your opponent's deck, and then you do damage based on the HP they have. So I could pair well with something like that, but this doesn't seem too powerful though. We have Togedemaru. So call for family, and then 20 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Let's see. Yeah, Call for Family, not too good. We have Dunsparce, which I think is generally going to be better, and Dunsparce doesn't really see any play, so probably a pass. We have Swoobat. So we're getting a bunch of Gen 5 Pokemon lately that we haven't seen in a while, so that's kind of neat. Swoobat, another Pokemon, historically has not had great cards, so let's see. Confusion, and then your opponent chooses one of their own Pokemon. This is 90 dead Pokemon, so not very good. Let's see, Golett and Golurk. Oh, okay, it's actually a pretty decent like pre-evolution. Draw until you have 5 in hand for 1 and 10 damage, so that's not too bad. Let's see, so we have Golurk here. Pretty decent art on this thing. But let's see, Psychic for 40, not affected by resistance, and then other attack 160 for 2. That's actually pretty good. If you have a supporter in your discard, this attack does nothing. Holy crap, that is so bad. Like, how are you gonna play a game and not have supporters in your discard? Are you just gonna play like 4 Palpad or something? Like, that is such a gimmick. Yeah, this card seems terrible. So let's see. We have Dragalge. Okay. Let's see. Poison Culture. If your opponent's active is poison, put damage counters, 10 damage counters instead of 1 on that Pokemon between turns. That's kind of annoying. Like, to me, this seems like it should read your opponent's active is poisoned, then put 10 damage counters instead of 1 on that Pokemon between turns. So maybe this was mistranslated. I don't know. If so, like, I would question how good this card is if that was the translation, but the fact that you have to have an additional way to poison them then attack is pretty bad. So I think this card needs to be your opponent's active is poison, then put 10 damage counters on them. Without that, this card is definitely not playable, though. Or I would assume to be not very playable. We have Volcarona GX, another card that got revealed ahead of time. So once during your turn, if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards, but you can't use more than one of these abilities in a turn. So that means, of course, if you have 4 of these Oricorios, you're only going to get one of these effects and not all 4. So it's kind of like the Persian GX we currently have, but this applies to any Pokemon, not just Pokemon GX, which is pretty nice. So you could potentially play this in the way that a lot of players would play, like the Oranguru from Sun and Moon, just to kind of hedge against those, like ends, or in this case, in this format, reset stamp to lower your hand size. So this seems like a pretty splashable one of. I could actually see this maybe seeing play. I'm really not sure what deck is really begging for this right now, but maybe if you don't want to commit the extra space to Persian, like if you would typically want to play Persian in your deck, but just can't bring yourself to find space for the pre-evolutions, this could be good, especially if you're playing a deck that plays a relatively low count of Pokemon and you can't play, realistically play something like Pokemon Communication to search out Meowths. This could be a potential option in place of Persian, since it does function somewhat similarly. So that seems okay. Like I said, I like this ability. I'm really not sure what deck is begging for it, but I could definitely see this seeing play. Its attacks, 80 damage, and then 100 switch this one of your bench Pokemons. Yeah, its attacks are pretty terrible, but this ability, I think, actually is kind of decent. So we have Cosmog, 2 different ones here. Ascension, okay, that's actually kind of cool. So, of course, we search a deck for a Pokemon that evolves from Cosmog, so we can get a Cosmo-o if we choose to. And then this one, prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks done to this Pokemon. So, it's cool. We got some, kind of decent Cosmog pre-evolutions. Cosmo-o, just a damage reduction. And we have Lunala. So, oops. There we go. Alright, so we have Luna Ring. Once during your turn before you attack, if Solgaleo is in play, you may search your deck for up to 2 energy cards and attach them to your Solgaleo and Lunala in any way that you like. So one thing I'm actually curious about is this apply to like Solgaleo GX and Lunala GX? That's actually kind of relevant because we still have the Solgaleo GX that does 230 for like 2 metal and a Colress, I think it is. Since it did get like a gold reprint in what set was it? Was it Ultra Prism? I forget, but I'm pretty sure that card is still legal. But yeah, this ability is definitely pretty cool. I'm going to work under the assumption it does not include those since it doesn't specify, but it seems like it potentially could. But right now, I'm just going to assume it's just normal Solgaleos. There is actually a Solgaleo in Ultra Prism, I believe. I don't believe it's too great, so maybe we'll have to revisit some of these other Solgaleos and Lunalas and see if any of them have potential with this thing. But this is actually a pretty cool ability. I do like this. The only downside, of course, is that you do have to have 2 stage 2s in play, and that definitely can be tricky in a format that is so aggressive, like the one we've unfortunately been in ever since tag teams got thrown into the mix here. So, cool ability. I'm assuming there's a Solgaleo in this set as well, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that. As far as attacking with this Lunala, it's kind of just okay. 130 for 3 is fine, just because we can attach 2. Then, effectively, just for a single attachment from hand, 130. It's fine, but nothing special. So we have Nose Pass. There's probably a Probopass later in this set. Flygon GX is in the set, so we do have the Flygon line here. Trapinch. Search your deck for a Stadium card. That's pretty good. This one has more HP, but 2 attachments on a pre-evolution like this is pretty bad. The attack is decent, just the energy cost is bad. We have Vibrava. Whenever your opponent plays a supporter from their hand, prevent all effects of that card in this Pokemon. So like Guzma, Lysander, etc. We do have to remember Japan's format is actually still Sun and Moon on, not Ultra Prism on. So this actually would be a very good ability in a format like that, since you could protect against Guzmas. I really wish this said whenever your opponent plays a trainer card, because that would prevent against custom catchers, but you might actually still be safe since Great Catcher is coming out in the same set as Cosmic Eclipse. So custom catcher honestly might not even be relevant. So I don't know. This ability's fine. Nothing special though. Oh, actually 0 retreat. That is something I do like though. Oh, actually it has a 1 retreat. They just forgot to mark it there on the translation. Anyways, Flygon GX. Let's take a look at this guy. This did get revealed a little bit ahead of time. 240 HP. to retreat, grass weakness ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active, any damage done to your Pokemon from your opponent's attacks is reduced by 30. So we effectively have 270 HP. It's kind of cool. Random, I do wish this was resistant to lightning, just because Flygon is part ground, if I remember correctly, and ground type Pokemon historically in the TCG do get lightning resistance. So that is definitely a bummer, especially with how strong Pikarom has been, and the fact that this is a stage 2. Like, we need all the help we can get if we're attempting to play a stage 2. So kind of bummed we don't have the lightning resistance here. But its attack, let's see, 3 fighting for both. If there's a stadium in play, this is 120, and then discard that stadium card. And the GX attack 220, and goes through any effects when your opponent's active. So, man, 3 fighting energy is kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's really a pain. We do have Karate Belt to attempt to, help our attack costs a little bit here. That will reduce them by effectively 1 fighting energy, which is nice. So I really wish this card had been 2 energy for its attack cost, because then we could effectively attack with a Flygon in 1 turn if it had no previous energy on it. So really bummed that these are 3 energies and not 2. So if there's a stadium in play, there's 120 more. So of course we can play this with like Martial Arts Dojo to try to buff our, try to buff our damage output a little bit more here. But hitting for 240, it's like fine. But without Choice Band, this definitely is a little bit annoying. But I guess we do have Diancie still, so that will get us up to 260. Martial Arts Dojo will get us to 270. So I guess the math does kind of work out on this thing. But just the energy cost is kind of bad. So yeah, I'm really not sold on this. I really want to like this just because stage 2s are terrible right now. And anytime we get a potentially decent stage 2, I really want to like it. But this card just kind of seems okay to me. So we have Armaldo up next here. Another fossil Pokemon. Just 50 more for each unidentified fossil in your discard pile. Okay, that's interesting. So if we're playing, of course, Research Lab, which I'm assuming we are, if we're playing a fossil deck, you could just attempt to get around playing any of your unidentified fossils at all. So if you have all of them in discard, you're hitting 220, which actually isn't too bad, to be honest. Just for a triple acceleration energy here. Let's see. So Diancie, 240, that's not bad. Seems okay. It seems kind of gimmicky though. Like it's not enough damage to knock out some of the tag teams. Like if you're playing, like you're a fighting Pokemon, so you're already gonna knock out Pikarom with somewhat relative ease. So you could honestly just play a different fossil Pokemon. Like I'd rather play Archeops or Aerodactyl GX if I just wanted to knock out Pikaroms. So I think for this card to have been playable, you would have needed to have a way to scale effectively to get up to an amount to knock out like other tag teams like Reshizard, Mewtwo, Mew, etc. I just don't think you're probably going to get there. So it's actually like a really good damage to energy ratio, but the numbers it hits for are just kind of awkward, and there's just more efficient ways to do that, I think. Other attacks, just 100, goes to resistance, nothing special. So we have a new Lycanroc here. So 120, if your opponent has any Pokemon GX in play, the energy cost for this Pokemon's attacks are reduced by 3 colors. So that's pretty cool. So we can attack for a 0 energy, which is really, really nice, actually. So if your opponent's active has any special energy attached, just attack to 60 plus 70 more. Okay. See, we keep seeing all these cards referencing special energies, but there's just really no relevant special energies, especially fighting weak Pokemon that want to use special energies. So that's why I'm just like, this is just kind of like meh. So, I mean, without the special energy clause, we could do 80 with Diancie in play, 90 with Martial Arts Dojo, or is Martial Arts Dojo fighting Pokemon or Pokemon with fighting energy? I forget off the top of my head. But so 80 is nothing special. Like unless you could scale this base damage up to 120, it's just not very good, because if you could scale it up to 120, you can knock out Pikaroms without fulfilling the second part of this attack cost. If we still had like Zoroark in play as a deck, this actually could be a decent card for like mirror matches, but that's not quite the case. But nevertheless, I think this card is like worth kind of keeping an eye out for. Attacks for triple acceleration, has a good ability. So as we get more and more special energies printed, this will be a card we have to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, just the big problem is there's not really any special, like good special energies on fighting weak Pokemon right now. So we'll keep an eye out for it in the future, but probably a bad card initially. We have Sandygast Palisand, C80 for a triple, then damage reduced by 20. That's okay, I guess. So you could play buff padding and and this attack and just soak up a ton of damage. That seems kind of cute. If we had Max Potion, that would actually be kind of a fun deck maybe, because you could like attack with triple acceleration, discard it, Max Potion, and keep that loop going for a few turns. Other attack 150, 20 to each of your Pokemon. Not too special there. So you have Metal type Alolan Sandslash. Kind of nice art on this thing. Let's see, 30 flip a coin of heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn for 0 energy. Really not a bad 0 energy attack, but we can't really build around this. So if this Pokemon has a tool attached, does 60 plus 60 more. Nothing too special. Like, you're not going to build around this realistically. Like, I guess you could play like Metal Core Barrier and some of like the damage reduction cards for Metal Pokemon, but I don't think it's strong enough to build around your entire deck. Probably not going to see too much play. So we have Mawile. Search your deck for 2 tag team cards, put them into your hand. That actually is pretty, halfway decent, just because we are getting the tag team supporters in this set as well. So you can search them out in addition to like Tag Team Pokemon GX. That's worth pointing out, but starter Pokemon right now I don't think are too good, just generally speaking. Like, if something like Dunsparce doesn't see play, I don't think something like this would see play. So you have Probopass. Let's see, flip a coin of heads, your opponent's active is paralyzed, then Metal triple colorless, flip 3 coin. No, not doing that. Okay, and there is a Solgaleo in this set. And art on this thing is actually really, really cool. Very interesting art style. Not familiar with this artist either, so maybe this is a new artist they're adding to the game. 170 HP, definitely pretty good here. So if you have any Lunala in play, all of your Solgaleo and Lunala take 50 less damage from your opponent's attacks after applying weakness and resistance, but you can't apply more than one of these abilities at the same time. That's still pretty solid. So 220 on a single prize Pokemon, not too bad. If you want to, you could play Metal Core Barrier or like Metal Frying Pan if you wanted as well. So that's honestly really not too bad here. Its attack, 2 metal, 2 colorless, does 180, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Okay, that's actually kind of a pain. So 180 is a fine number to hit for, I guess. But you're going to be two-shotting things. And I think there's just probably more reliable ways at two-shotting the big Pokemon in the format right now. Like, this is the type of card where if we were in like a non-GX format or non-tag team format, this could potentially have the time to set up your Lunala and Solgaleo. And like especially if this was back during the Lost Thunder format, before we had tag teams where we still had Choice Band, and the highest amount of HP you saw most of the time was around 210. This could be actually kind of good, but just the format we're in right now is just so hostile towards like a combo like this. Like, I actually really like this Lunala and Solgaleo, but I think the format we're in is just really bad for them. So, but you guys can see the synergy. Of course, you can tank with your stage 2s a little bit better, and then the Lunala helps get 2 energy down this thing. But the issue is, if your only Solgaleo gets knocked out, you have no way at powering up a new one in one turn, which is the big problem, because you're going to accelerate 2 energy with your Lunala unless you have a third stage 2 in place somehow, which I don't think you're going to do. You can accelerate 2 energy and then attach 1 for turn, and you're still 1 short of attacking with this thing. So just kind of an awkward card, unfortunately. It's just like, if this was 1 less energy, I would entertain this a little bit stronger, but probably not very good, unfortunately. So we have Alolan Ninetales, just a 0 energy attack. So let's see. Does 10 times the amount of tool cards in your discard pile. So it's kind of cute. Kind of reminds me of the Rotom deck. So maybe you could just play like a Rotom box and just attempt to hit all different types of weaknesses, just like an anti-meta Rotom Box deck. Because I don't think you're building around just Alolan Ninetales. I just don't think you're going to. You have to play, what, like 27 tools in your deck if you want to knock out something like a like a Mewtwo Mew or a Reshizard. So that seems really, really bad. I don't think you're building around this. I wish if this was 20 times the amount of tool cards, I actually think that would be reasonable to ask for as a card. But since it's not 20 times, you can't really build around this successfully. I don't believe you can. Unless you played, I mean, you could play like 30 tools, no, literally zero energy, and just play nothing but things like Ingo Emmet, Sightseer, etc. And ways to get them in the discard pile. So that is kind of cute. Maybe, I don't know, you could play around with that for fun, but it's probably pretty bad. Or like the Dene GX along with this. So maybe I'll try that out for fun, but I think this would probably just be kind of like a tech attacker in like a Rotom Box style deck if you were going to play the Rotoms. So that's kind of like where my mind is on this thing. So could have potential. So we have another baby Pokemon. These things haven't really been that great. Not sure how this one's going to fare. So once your turn for you attack me, flip coin pads, attach a basic energy from your discard to your active, and of course if you use this ability your turn ends. I really wish this was search your deck for a basic energy and attach it, because most of the time with these baby Pokemon, like if your turn's going to end on ability, you want it to end on turns where like you're not attacking. So on the first turn or so of the game, that's when you're going to be most likely to be able to take a turn off of attacking and make use of an ability like this. But the fact that you have to get energy in your discard makes it harder to set this up on the first or second turn of the game. So probably not very good. Let's see. So we have Florges. I remember seeing people talk about this online. Flabebe. This is actually a pretty good attack. Search your deck for up to 2 fairy Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand. It's pretty good. Let's see. Floette. Whenever you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may choose a card in your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals that card, shuffles it into their deck. Okay, so a little bit of disruption. And we have Florges. Whenever you... So it's the same thing, but you do 2 cards instead of 1. So the attacks on this thing's pretty bad, but I could definitely see the combo people could be concerned about, where you could go like Jesse and James, force them to discard 2 cards, or like you go like reset stamp, Jesse James, and then use like Floette or Florges to like strip them of their hand, which seems very degenerate. The only thing is I don't really know what deck has the space to play everything to make this combo work. Like what deck is playing this? That's all I want to know here. So it would have to be some sort of control deck that isn't based on attacking, because otherwise I really just don't see you finding the space for all of this stuff. Because you'll have to play like De-Evolution Sprays, or I forget, De-Evolution Spray Z, I think that's what it's called. So you'll have to play those and just try to recycle this and keep your opponent at like a low hand size. But yeah, so this doesn't seem... If this was discard the cards, I would say these cards are busted. They still might see playing like a control deck, like I just kind of outlined, but really not sure. Has potential though to be highly annoying. So you have Slurpuff. Your opponent's active is confused, then it's our attack 110. If your opponent's active isn't confused, this attack fails, so not too special. Sylveon. See, Moonblast 30, then takes 20 less damage, nothing too special. Fairy Double Colorless 80. If you played a tag team supporter from your hand during this turn, does 80 more damage. So I'll have to take a look at all the tag team supporters, but powering this thing up could be kind of annoying. We don't have Double Colorless energy in the format anymore, so you'll have to be reliant on triple acceleration energies. Hitting for 160 is a good number. You knock out the Denes, but just with tag teams having so much HP, 160 isn't that much different from hitting for like 130 or 140. I think there's probably less clunky ways of doing that, so probably not very good. Alright, getting on to some tag teams here. We have Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia GX. This card I do remember being pretty obnoxious. So let's see, 280 HP, Dragon type, and then first attack, Water, Metal Chorus, 150. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards. Attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So kind of like full blitz, but you know, a little bit more flexible in terms of the energies that you want to use. Probably you would be using this for other metal and water energies. I don't see you playing additional types beyond that. So that's okay, but I remember the attack that was really busted was the GX attack. So for a Metal Energy, Altered Creation GX, for the rest of the game, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. And if you have at least one extra water energy attached, then whenever your opponent's active is knocked out by damage from those attacks, take one more prize card. this card is so obnoxious. So in standard format, this probably has potential, but where my mind kind of went is in expanded, because we still have double dragon energy. So on the first turn of the game, you can just go double dragon, and now for the rest of the game, you're doing plus 30, and you're taking an additional prize card every time you get a knockout. This is an insane effect in the expanded format. So in standard, it's going to be much harder to power up something like this, since I think the best metal acceleration we have right now is probably going to be the metal Magnezone, which not the best to be fair. So that doesn't seem too great currently, but we do have End Resolve, which is coming out in the same set. So maybe there is an argument you can make where you're just playing End Resolve to get your initial Arceus, Dialga, Palkia set up, and then just using this ultimate ray attack to kind of carry your energy acceleration through the rest of the game from there. So that could be a thing. But yeah, this GX tag is absolutely insanely busted, especially in expanded, where you can just do this on the first turn of the game. And yeah, I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. But this effect is utterly insane. Very, very good card. So let's see, Naganadel and Guzzlord GX. This one actually got revealed a while back, if I remember correctly. I think like a month ago. Let's see. So Gluttony, you may discard a Pokemon from your hand. If you do, let's see, heal 60 from this Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. We're 280 HP Pokemon already, so you can, you know, tank hits a little bit better. So you could play a bunch of great potions and then just this ability to try to heal a bunch. That seems pretty cool. Let's see, 180 for 3. It's a pretty good number to hit for, to be honest. You know, you're going to knock out the Dedenne GXs. That actually might be one of the best, like, I think that might be the best ratio of just, like, stable damage output we've seen for a 3 energy attack. That's pretty solid. Of course, we're not knocking out tag teams, but very good at killing the Dedennes. And then, of course, like, non-tag team Pokemon. Let's see, it's GX attack. Colorless Energy, flip over your prize cards. They remain face up for the rest of the game. If this Pokemon has at least one extra Psychic and Dark Energy, take 2 prize cards. So that's actually pretty good, because for the same attack cost, which is pretty easy to fulfill, we have Malamar right now. We have even the like Weavile deck, like Dark Box deck. But I'd imagine you probably just play Malamar. That seems much better. But yeah, that's pretty good for 3 energy. Take 2 prizes, and your prizes are face up for the rest of the game. That seems pretty good. So you could play some sort of like tanking Dragon Malamar deck, maybe so. Or maybe this could even be, I don't know. Maybe this could be like a Mewtwo target. I'm not sure. I really do like this card though. I think it's a very good GX attack. Just not sure what deck I'm playing this thing in. So we have Drampa. Let's see. 20, then 70, plus 70 if you have 2 different types of basic energy. Not too excited about that, unfortunately. So we have a new Kommo-o line. So we'll see. Kommo-o's had a ton of cards. It's always gotten just kind of terrible cards printed, though. Let's see. Okay, this Kommo-o is actually very, very good. So it says if your opponent has any Pokemon GX or EX in play, this Pokemon can evolve the turn that it gets played. That's actually very, very good. I really do like this ability a lot here. So this is definitely going to be the best Kommo-o that you're going to play if you're ever playing a Kommo-o deck. So this is very, very good. Now, how good is this thing? 160. So 60, attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your bench Pokemon. And then 90, you may discard a tool from this Pokemon. If you do, it does 90 more. Okay, this actually might be the best Kommo-o we've had printed thus far. I mean, that's not saying much, to be fair, but this card actually isn't too bad. It kind of reminds me of the Garchomp all the way back from Breakpoint. Kind of similar. You have like a decent 1 for 60 attack that accelerates energy. Then you have kind of, a more situational second attack that can do large amounts of damage. But much like with that Garchomp, though, I don't think this is too great. Well, I shouldn't say that. I actually do really like that old Garchomp, but it was printed in a format with 3 different item lock decks. So as a result, it never really had a chance to be good. This, on the other hand, I just think the power level of this card isn't high enough to compete with some of the tag teams. So this is another one of those cards. Like, again, if we were in like a non-tag team format, this actually probably would be a decent non-GX Pokemon that we have. But of course, we are in this garbage tag team heavy meta with 240 HP basics. So as a result, a card like this just can't really like break through. But the card itself is fine, though. You have support in the form of Karate Belt. You have Martial Arts Dojo. You can kind of like stream these Kommo-os throughout the course of a game, because even if you don't have 2 energy in play for your second attack, you can always set up additional energy on your next Kommo-o for whenever your active gets knocked out. So this is a very fair and balanced card, and as a result, it won't see play because it's not a 270 HP basic, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, Kommo is actually solid, just not in this particular metagame that we're in. So we have Ultra Necrozma. This card is also very, very good from what I remember. So ability, you can only attack if you have 2 or fewer prize cards remaining, which seems bad, but I'm actually a really big fan of this card in Expanded because, well, I'll get to that in a second. Let's take a look at its attack. Psychic Metal 170, and you discard energy from your opponent's active. So this and the Dialga Palkia Arceus are just busted and expanded because you can play Silent Lab to shut off your own ability, allowing you to attack at any point, and you can use Double Dragon Energy to attack with this thing for a single attachment. So if you have the if you use the Dialga Palkia Arceus tag team, burn its GX attack on the first turn of the game, you're hitting 200 with this thing for the rest of the game. You have other things like Choice Band still to augment your damage output up to 230. So you're knocking out Zoroark GXs and expanded for a single attachment, which is insane. And then from there, if you want, you can even play things like Shrine of Punishment or Devoured Field from there to increase your damage output against other things, and take one-hit knockouts on Pikaroms for a single attachment. So I actually am a huge fan of this combo in Expanded. I'll have to get around to testing that, but that is definitely a combo I really want to try out. Standard format, I think there is consideration to playing this in Malamar, just because this, Malamar, I think it struggles a little bit sometimes at cleaning up knockouts or, closing out a game without the use of something like Ultra Necrozma or like Garchomp Giratina as an example. So this could be a decent non-GX closer in the deck. Hitting 170 is pretty good, especially if you're playing custom catchers. You could potentially just pick off the Dene to win the game. So this seems okay in Standard, but Expanded is really where I think this card is just super, super good. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of this in Expanded. In Standard, it's kind of okay, but absolutely like great card in Expanded. It seems like on paper at least. So we have Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff GX. So I actually forgot Mega Lopunny even had a Mega. I literally had no idea. But yeah, this card is another one that got revealed ahead of time. Very, very good card, I think. I think it's actually one of the best GXs in this set. But 240 HP. Has this first attack for 3 colors to 60, plus 60 more for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and GX. So this is so busted because you can go Welder, attach, have this thing powered up right away. And think if you're playing against something like Pikarom, where they have, let's just say, 5 GXs on the field. So you're going to be hitting, 5 times 60. And then the 60 base damage. Like, you're just obliterating Pikarom with a card like this. Now, of course, you have 240 HP, so you're not quite as tanky as like the Mewtwo Mews out there or the Reshizards, but this absolutely just decimates the like tag team heavy decks or just like all GX decks in general. So this attack cost is very easy to fulfill. I could definitely see this being kind of like fitting into the role that Eevee Snorlax had in Reshizard decks previously, where you play this as just, to give yourself a little bit of type coverage, and it also hits very, very hard. So just running through the math on this thing, if your opponent does have a full bench, like their entire field is just GXs, so what's that, 360, what, 420 damage? Is that right? Either way, you're knocking out tag teams. You're knocking out like everything in the format if they have a full bench of like GXs and tag teams. So this is actually a very, very good attack. Really big fan of this thing. GX attack, I forget what it even does. That tells you how good this first attack is. Very, very strong. But your opponent's active is now asleep, and if it has 4 extra energies attached to it, does 200 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Okay, that's like not too terrible. So especially if your opponent is limiting their bench a little bit in terms of their GXs, can give you a decent little sniping attack. But we're playing this mainly to just like run through Pikarom ideally. So this card is very good. I could even see like an argument for playing this over, or playing this like as a 2-2 split with Reshizard, just because of how insanely strong this attack is in such a GX and tag team heavy meta. So yeah, this first attack is just so good. One of the best attacks I think that got printed on any card in the set. So let's see here. Eevee, search your deck for a supporter. That's pretty good. We have Apom and Ambipom. See, Apom says, before your turn, you may put the top card of your opponent's deck on the bottom without looking. I mean, there's some situations that could be good, but really not too special. Let's see. Well, I guess actually you could play this with the Lantern that we looked at earlier. So you could play Lantern, see if you like their top deck, and put it on the bottom of their deck. Or, okay, so maybe this could actually see some play as like a one-of in decks that play Hiker or Lantern or something like that. So not too terrible, I guess. So Ambipom, discard up 2 cards from your hand, 60 for each card, discard it in this way. That's fine. I mean, it's 120. It's a decent energy to damage ratio, but it's just like not strong enough to actually be competitive. So we have Teddy Ursa and Ursaring here. Let's see, Ursaring, 50 for 2, 120 for 4. They can't retreat, nothing too special there. So we have Braviary, another Gen 5 Pokemon we don't usually see. 30, your opponent can't retreat. 140, just nope, not too good. We have Colorless Heliolisk. I actually didn't know this was a colorless Pokemon until like briefly skimming through some of the cards that got revealed last night. So let's see, 30. If your opponent has any lightning in play, does 90 more damage. I mean, 120, it's fine for 1 energy, but you're not hitting anything for weakness. Probably not very good. Not a big fan of this. And that's it for the Pokemon, apparently. So going on to our trainers. Tag Whistle. Search your deck for up 2 tag team cards. Put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. So one thing that's important to point out, much like with the Mawile card that we skimmed over already, this will even allow you to get like tag team supporters, which you can't get, traditionally. So you can get like a Pikarom and like a new tag team support if you really want to. So we'll have to look through the tag team supporters and see if any of those have synergy with the tag team decks. But even still outside of that, I could see this even being just like a one-of in Pikarom, just to be able to grab, 2 Pokemon without having to discard anything with Electromagnetic Radar. But I don't know, Electromagnetic Radar might just be better just because of the flexibility to grab Zeraora and or Dedenne instead. So I don't know. This definitely seems solid though. Like maybe if you're playing like Green's Reshizard just as an example, and you only play Cherish Ball as it is, so maybe you just play this instead, just as a strict upgrade because it allows you to grab 2 Reshizards. So I could definitely see that. So yeah, this card will probably see play. Let's see, Fossil Reprint, Island Challenge, Amulet. Okay, let's see. The max HP of the Pokemon GX or EX attached to is reduced by 100. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon, they take one less prize card. Okay, so the trade-off is, yeah, your opponent is only taking one less prize card, but your tag teams are going to be easier to knock out. So, I guess I could see this seeing play as, so your opponent has already swung on whatever your tag team is. They're getting knocked out no matter what on your opponent's next turn. Like, let's say you have a Reshizard and your opponent smacked you for like 200. Well, they're probably going to be able to pick you off on their next turn no matter what. So you play this down. Your max HP being lowered doesn't even matter. And then they take one less prize card. That's kind of how I see this being played. Or maybe if you're playing a deck with like the Denes and they're, you know, easily picked off, you can throw this down on the Denes to make them less of a target to be great catchered up or something like that. So it seems like kind of a neat card. Not sure how good it is or not, but giving up one less prize card definitely mitigates one of the things that makes tag teams, as an example, so desirable to knock out. So I could see this scene play. See Beastite. See, the attacks of Ultra Beast, this card's attached to do 10 more damage for each prize card you've taken to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the Buzzwole we looked at earlier. If you want to like meme around with that type of idea. So this definitely seems good, especially right now in a format where we don't really have Choice Band or any like desirable tool card most of the time we really want to use. This definitely could be good. I could see this maybe potentially in Blacephalon, just because sometimes 10 or 20 damage is the difference between needing like 4 or 5 energies for Mind Blown. So that seems good. Of course, Buzzwole Pheromosa, that could be good as well, potentially. Just trying to think. I don't know. This definitely seems good. Like I said, especially in a format without Choice Band, this card just gets more insane the further along a game goes. So yeah, this card seems pretty good. Not sure what deck it's gonna find its way into initially. Maybe Blacephalon, that seems like one of the contenders you could look at, or maybe I'm not sure. This card definitely seems good though. At worst, it's gonna function like a Choice Band in the mid game. So I'm a fan. So next we're getting into our tag team supporters. So much like with the normal tag teams, they have like a base effect, but if you fill an additional requirement, you get a bonus effect. So we have Guzma and Hala here. Search your deck for a stadium, reveal, put into your hand, and then whenever you play this card, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you search your deck for a Pokemon, tool, and special energy, reveal them, put them into your hand. So I've already seen people talk about you could play this with Mega Rayquaza and expanded. Like, this card would have been so busted in Mega Ray back in the day, because you could have grabbed Skyfield, you could grab a Rayquaza Spirit Link, and a triple acceleration energy now in today's format to attack with it. So that actually seems like really, really fun. Mega Ray actually isn't like the worst attacker. The only issue is Sudowoodo is so popular and expanded. But outside of that, Mega Ray still does 240 for essentially 1 attachment, which isn't bad. But yeah, this could be good. You can find triple acceleration energies. There's not too many tool cards you really, really want right now in this format. Like, we have Spell Tag, we have a Skateboard. Grabbing a Stadium card is also good as well. I'm not sure what deck really wants this. We'd really have to like comb through the card pool and see what might want this. But I don't know, it doesn't seem too bad. You could potentially actually put this in Vespiquen and expand it. It actually seems pretty good. Just to be able to search out or even like Night March, that also seems pretty good. Being able to grab your double colorless energy every turn, since that's like the big thing you really want. But I guess Teammates kind of fills the same role already. But I don't know. I think this card seems good in a vacuum. I'm just not sure the practical application for this. So we have Cynthia and Caitlin. Put a supporter card from your discard into your hand, excluding any Cynthia or Caitlin cards or cards discarded by this card, okay? And then whenever you play this card, you may discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, draw 3. So it's kind of like a more balanced Lusamine, because a lot of people have been complaining how With Lusamine, they wish like Lusamine would be fixed if it just said you could get back 2 supporters excluding Lusamines, and this kind of fills that role here. Of course, you do have the bonus effect of drawing 3, which is nice. And I actually kind of like this because one of the downsides to Lusamine is you're wasting your supporter just retrieving supporters and actually not like drawing additional cards and, you know, gaining a lot of advantage in a given turn with it. So I like that this fills a similar role, but also still allows you to draw cards and, you know, potentially dig and hit things you still need on your turn outside of an additional supporter. So that seems pretty cool. We do have Lusamine in standard format right now, so I'm not sure if this will replace Lusamine in the decks that already play it. In expanded, however, this could maybe see play just because you don't have Lusamine already. But actually, no, like the decks that, because Lusamine's banned and expanded, but this might not be good enough in the decks that want Lusamine. Maybe, I don't know, because you have 4 versus Seekers, then I guess you still could play this to get back things like Team Flagrants. I'm thinking of like Wailord, like Mill in particular. They played, of course, versus Seekers and Lusamines in addition to that. They keep reusing their Disruption supporters. So you could do something like that. I don't know. I like this card. This again, it's kind of awkward, like with the Guzma Hala, where I like the effect of this, but I'm not sure the practical application. So we'll have to see what happens with it. But I do like this effect, though. We have Mallow and Lana. So switch your active with one of your bench Pokemon whenever you play this card. You may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, heal 120 from the new active Pokemon. Okay. That is pretty decent. So, I mean, we've seen Olympia in the past see play, which was like switch your active and heal 30, I think it was. So, I mean, you have to discard cards for this, but healing 120 is pretty substantial. I think that's the difference between, you know, a 2-shot and a 3-shot in a lot of instances. So I could certainly see a world where this might see some play. Maybe in like stall archetypes or something like that. I think that is potentially possible. You know, I don't think your Pikarom decks are probably going to play this. You know, maybe if Malamar decks start gearing more heavily back to being GX focused, this could see play because right now Malamar decks are essentially just Giratina decks that play sometimes 1, sometimes 2 like GXs just as literally like a late game closer. But if we see them shift more heavily back to tag teams and playing thicker GX counts, this could be good because this does have synergy with Malamar and also keeps your tag teams, or not tag teams, but just GXs alive a little bit longer in general. So I think outside of star archetypes, that seems like you know, a potential deck idea there. And Red and Blue, this is definitely my favorite out of the ones I saw, I do remember. So you search your deck for a Pokemon GX that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play, and put that Pokemon on it to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. And you can't use this card during your first turn or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn. So that is definitely one of the things that is a bit annoying, unfortunately, but that probably just makes the card more fair. I don't have a problem with it, but it does make it less strong. But then whenever you play this card, you may discard 2 cards from your hand if you do search deck for 2 basic energy cards and attach them to the Pokemon you evolved. So this is actually really, really cool. So even though this is pushing GXs, it's pushing evolution GXs, which I think is very good for the game. So actually, yeah, think of something like the Flygon GX we looked at earlier, where it has kind of a clunky attack cost, and it's kind of hard to get it up and running. A card like Red and Blue actually really does help a card like that a lot because you can evolve into it, get 2 energies on it, and attach return and have it up and running. So we'll have to actually probably comb through the card pool and take a look back and see what are some of these GX Pokemon that haven't been playable due to their awkward attack costs, and now having Red and Blue kind of, you know, allows them to have a chance. And, you know, a lot of times with search cards, one of the big downsides is, you know, you're not actually drawing cards. But with a card like this, I think the searching effects are so strong, you don't mind that you're not actually seeing a lot of cards from your deck. Because the downside, specifically to prior search cards, is that you usually need several things in a given turn, but this kind of finds all of the things that you would want in a turn. You find your Pokemon and the energy to use with it. So I'm a huge fan of this card. I think this is, a pretty strong effect. And like I said, we'll have to kind of comb through the card pool and see what also might be, worth kind of revisiting now that we have this in the mix. So we'll probably talk more about that type of stuff in our full set review. But yeah, I'm a big fan of red and blue. Very excited to see this card get made. We have Chaotic Swell. So whenever either player plays a new stadium card from the hand to discard this stadium card, discard the new stadium card as well. And you ignore all effects on the new stadium card. So this is basically just like the ultimate counter stadium. Like if you're playing a deck that doesn't really have any specific stadium it really, really wants, like this is an absolutely insane card. And right now we are in a format that is, very heavily stadium based. Like Pikarom plays, around 3 stadium cards plus a stadium nav. Reshizard plays multiple stadium cards. The Mewtwo Mew deck plays multiple stadium cards. Malamar plays multiple stadium cards. So yeah, right now I think a card like this is actually going to be very strong. Again, in decks that really in particular aren't looking for a specific stadium card. They just need to. You just can't let your opponent have cards like Thunder Mountain in play or like Giant Hearth, Heat Factory. You can't let those cards stay in play. They just give your opponent far too much advantage. And so this, you can probably just get away with running 2 of these just because you're going to bounce one of your opponent's stadium cards just whenever you play this down initially. And then whenever they play their next stadium, they're getting rid of that as well. So I think just playing 2 of these will be all that you need most of the time. No more than 3, though, for sure. But yeah, this card is very, very good. I'm a big fan of this. So now one of these cards, I'm not sure the exact deck that wants to play it, just off the top of my head. But I have no doubt there is practical application for this. There are going to be decks that don't have a specific stadium that they really want in particular, and this card is going to be insane for this deck. So very, very strong stadium, I think. And then from there, we just have a couple of reprints. These will most likely, of course, be promo cards, as they have been lately with these like hollow, trainer reprints. Cherish Ball, Adventure Bag, Pokemon Communication, Professor Elm's Lecture. All cards that are very good. Very excited to see these come out as promos down the road. But yeah, guys, that's going to be Ultra Genesis. We went through a lot of cards here. Let's kind of scroll through again just to kind of see what all we went over. I've already forgotten. Chaotic Swell, Red and Blue. I definitely like those. Probably the most out of the trainer cards. Let's see. Some of the Pokemon I liked. I'm trying to remember. Colorless Pokemon, pretty weak outside of the Mega Lopunny. Definitely one of the best cards, I think. Ultra Necrozma, very good and expanded. Naganadel Guzzlord, this is another one of those cards. Kind of good, just don't know the exact deck I want to play it in. The Arceus combo, again, very strong and expanded in particular. Let's see here. Florges could be good. Let's see. A lot of bad cards that we went over as we're scrolling back through these things. Flygon maybe has potential with red and blue, now that I kind of think about it. Let's see. Lunala was not quite good enough, or the Solgaleo with it wasn't quite good enough at least. Oricorio was okay. See here. Lanturn was kind of meh. Yeah, a lot of bad cards in this set, actually. Walrein, man, I really want to like this card, but again, it's just like too clunky to actually keep recycling that thing. Let's see. Oh, Volcarona GX. That's definitely one of my favorite cards in the set for sure. Let's see. And yeah, we're back up to the beginning. So yeah, actually a lot of bad cards. Like all of the good cards in the set got revealed prior to the set getting revealed in full in Japan. So yeah, guys, that's going to be my first impressions of Ultra Genesis. Of course, like I said, we will have our full Cosmic Eclipse set review coming down the road. So of course, stay tuned for whenever that happens. That probably won't be till, you know, probably mid-October though. So we definitely have some time before we get these cards internationally. But of course, guys, you know, what do you think about this set? Sound off down below in the comment section. Let me know what cards in here you're looking forward to. Do you think I was, you know, a little hard on any cards, or, you know, not hard enough? Definitely sound off below. Let me know your thoughts here. But of course, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or by picking up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.